Good morning. Now we are entering into our detailed syllabus, Unit 1, Tools of Recombinant DNA Technology. And our Chapter 1 deals with Restriction Modification Systems. Coming to introduction of restriction endonucleases. So, what are these restriction endonucleases? An enzyme produced by bacteria which selectively cuts up DNA at a restricted site. So these restriction enzymes are the enzymes produced by bacteria, and the function of these enzymes is cleavage of DNA at a restricted site. Restricted site means particular site. So the DNA is cut at a particular site, and that particular site is called as target site or restriction site. So let's see the meaning of the name restriction endonucleases. Restriction means at a particular site on DNA. Endo means inside or towards the interior part of DNA. Nucleases. So whenever you come across with the enzyme with the name ASE, it depicts that it is a cleavage enzyme. That is, it is a cleaving enzyme. Nucleases are the enzymes which cleave nucleic acids, that is either DNA or RNA. So the enzymes which cut nucleic acids are called nucleases. So on the whole, restriction endonucleases means the DNA cleavage enzymes which cleave DNA at a particular or restricted site. And restriction digestion results in two types of ends in DNA. One is blunt ends and the other one is cohesive or sticky ends. And these sticky ends are mostly used in rDNA technology. Now let's see the basic difference between blunt ends and cohesive ends in our next slide. So these are blunt ends. This is double-stranded DNA, and upon cleavage, this is the site, cleavage site. This arrow represents cleavage site. So when EcoR5 is a restriction enzyme which brings about blunt ends in DNA. So when DNA is cleaved with EcoR5 enzyme, the ends will be like this. So two equal halves. So the length of the two strands will be equal in case of blunt ends. Whereas in case of sticky ends, and EcoR1 is the example of restriction enzyme which brings about cohesive or sticky ends in DNA. So this is the cleavage site. So this enzyme EcoR1 cleaves the DNA in between G and A, that is guanine and adenine. Here also in between G and A, that is guanosine and adenosine. Now the resultant products or the ends will be like this. One long strand and another short strand. Another long strand and short strand. That is, the blunt ends are equal. That is, the cleavage will be exactly in the middle of the DNA sequence. Whereas for sticky ends, the cleavage will not be towards the center. So the resultant ends will be unequal. One will be long and other will be short. So the basic difference between blunt ends and sticky ends is these are blunt ends when joined together looks like this. Whereas sticky ends when joined together they look like this. So breaking of blunt ends is much easier when compared to breaking of sticky ends. This bonding is much stronger than this bonding. So sticky ends are mostly preferred in rDNA technology. These are double-stranded DNA molecules So the bonds present in this strand are phosphodiester bonds, whereas the bonds that are present between the two strands are called hydrogen bonds. These are hydrogen bonds. So the function of restriction enzyme is cleavage of phosphodiester bonds. So they cut the strands of DNA and not in the middle of DNA. So these strands, after cutting, they are joined. So to produce a recombinant DNA. See, these are sticky ends. Longer fragment, shorter one, a shorter fragment and a longer one. Coming to mode of action. Enzyme makes two cuts or incisions, one in each strand through the sugar phosphate backbone, hydrolyzing the phosphodiester bond. So, the function of enzyme, how does this enzyme act on DNA? Enzyme makes two cuts, as we have seen in previous slide. See, one cut is made in one strand and another cut is made in second strand. Hence, the enzyme makes two cuts. And the bonds that are broken there are phosphodiester bonds, so that two cleaves or two breaks appear in DNA molecule. Coming to nomenclature, how are these restriction enzymes named after? So there are certain rules to name the enzymes. First letter of the enzyme always indicates the genus name. We know that microorganisms have two names, the generic name and the species name. So the first one is the generic name. So the first letter indicates genus name. For example, for better understanding, let's see EcoR1. EcoR1 is the most commonly or most widely used restriction endonuclease. So capital E stands for Escherichia, which is the genus name of Escherichia coli bacteria. Second and third letters in naming represent first two letters of species name. So in E. coli, coli is the species name. So CO are the second and third first two letters. So second and third represent species name, that is coli. Next, fourth letter represents the strain of the organism. So here capital R represents the strain of E. coli. And last one is a Roman numeral which depicts the order of discovery. So Roman numeral 1. This is the first enzyme that is isolated from E. coli. If there is 3, then it will be the third enzyme that is extracted from E. coli. So from a single bacteria, we can isolate or extract so many restriction enzymes. So among that, this last digit number, it represents the order of its extraction. So EcoR1 means this is the first restriction enzyme that is isolated from Escherichia coli bacteria. This is how enzymes are named after. Coming to types of restriction enzymes. Based on subunit composition, sequence specificity, cleavage position and cofactor requirements, there are 4 types of restriction enzymes. Type 1, 2, 3 and 4. So what are these? Subunit composition. Subunits. The enzyme is made up of different subunits. If it is made up of 2 subunits, it is called a dimer. If it's 3, trimer, tetramer, pentamer and so on. So based on subunit composition. Next, sequence specificity. So sequence specificity means the DNA sequence where the enzyme cleaves is called sequence specificity. For example, as we have seen in our previous slide, the target sequence, the sequence where enzyme cleaves is called a target sequence. So the target sequence for EcoR1 is GAATTC. So this is the target sequence for EcoR1. So EcoR1, whenever it counters this sequence GAA-TTC on the DNA, it makes a cleavage there. So how many number of times GAA-TTC is repeated, those many fragments will be resulted. So this is the target site, and this is called sequence specificity. So this EcoR1 only cleaves at this sequence and not anywhere else. Next, coming to cleavage position. So this is the cleavage position. The arrow represents the cleavage position. So EcoR1 cleaves in between G and A, guanine and adenine. Whereas EcoR5, it cleaves between thymine and adenine. That is in between T and A. So the cleavage position of enzymes differ from each other. So one cleaves here, which results in sticky ends, and other cleaves at the center, exactly at the center, to give blunt ends. And last one is cofactor requirements. So these enzymes, they require cofactors for their activity. So some require magnesium ions as cofactors, some manganese ions, and so on. So based on all these factors, enzymes are classified into type 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now let's see the properties of each type of restriction enzymes. First one is type 1 restriction enzymes. They have little practical value because they do not produce discrete restriction fragments or gel bonding patterns. So these type 1 are not much important enzymes because they are not used in rDNA technology. Why are they not used? Because they do not give discrete restriction fragments. That is, they do not cleave at restricted site or at target sites. They cleave as and wherever they want, that is at random sites. They do not cleave at a particular site. That's why these are not much used in practicals. That is, they are not used in DNA technology. Coming to type 2. They cleave at defined positions close to or within their recognition sequences. That is, these type 2 enzymes, they are strict enzymes. They follow the rules and regulations strictly so that they cleave very near to the target site or within the target site exactly, so that they produce discrete restriction fragments and distinct gel banding patterns. As they are strict enzymes, they cleave exactly and perfectly at the restricted site so that fragments are obtained very accurately. So these are widely used in gene cloning experiments and rDNA technology. So what are the applications of type 2 in genetic engineering? So among the 4 types, type 2 are best suitable enzymes. So these are examples of type 2 enzymes: HHA1, HIN3, NOT1, etc. So they cleave within their sequences. These recognize mostly symmetric DNA sequences. So what are these symmetric DNA sequences? Symmetric DNA means those DNA that is same from both sides. See, for example, GAATTC is pronounced or it is spelled like this, whereas from the opposite side when we read GAATTC. So when read from opposite sides, they read the same or they are identical. They are called as symmetric sequences. If the two strands are same when reading from opposite sides, then they are called as symmetric sequences. I think you understand that. So keep it in mind. These type 2 enzymes, they recognize symmetric DNA sequences. And they bind to the DNA as homodimers. So dimer means made up of two subunits. An enzyme which is made up of two subunits is called a dimer. And homo means similar. So the two subunits are same or identical, then such enzymes are called as homodimers. So these type 2 enzymes, they bind to symmetric sequences as homodimers. And if they bind to asymmetric sequences, then they bind as heterodimers. That is, the two subunits are different from each other. So asymmetric sequences means we cannot read them same from both the sides. Okay, so we'll get one sequence when read from one direction and we'll get another sequence when read from another direction. So they are not same from both the sides. Such sequences are called asymmetric sequences. So when these enzymes, they bind as homodimers to symmetric sequences and as heterodimers to asymmetric sequences. Next, coming to cleavage. So when we cleave or when we hydrolyze a DNA, then the ends will be like this always. When we cleave towards the 3' end, the group that is present there would be a hydroxyl group, OH group. When we cleave towards the 5' end, the group that is present there would be a phosphate group. So when we cut a DNA, always the ends that are produced are 3' hydroxyl groups and 5' phosphate groups. So always remember, cleavage results in 3' hydroxyl group and a 5' phosphate group. Next, these type 2 enzymes, they require magnesium ion for their activity. We already studied in the previous slide that cofactors are required for the enzyme's action. So, these type 2 enzymes, they require magnesium ions as cofactors, Mg2+. These enzymes are intermediate in length. So, all enzymes are proteins. We already know that. So, proteins are made up of amino acids. So, the size of type 2 enzymes, restriction enzymes, are intermediate. That is, they are not too short or they are not too long. They are medium in size with a length of about 400 to 650 amino acids. Some enzymes recognize continuous sequences while some enzymes recognize discontinuous sequences. So continuous sequences are, I'll show the example here. So these are continuous sequences. That is, this pattern repeats so many times on DNA molecule. So these are called continuous sequences. That is, on DNA molecule, this pattern C, T, G, A, G will be repeated many number of times. It is called a continuous sequence. And discontinuous sequences like this. See, there are N's in the middle. N represents nucleotide. It may be any nucleotide. It may be adenine, guanine, thymine or cytosine. Anything. N represents any of the 4 nucleotides. So, this is the continuous pattern where this is not continuous because it is interrupted by many N's in the middle. Okay. So, continuous and discontinuous sequences. So, some enzymes recognize continuous sequences while some discontinuous sequences. Next, coming to type 3. They contain many subunits. So, many subunits. It may be trimer, tetramer, pentamer, hexamer and so on. So, more than 2. They require cofactors for their activity. These enzymes do not cleave within the DNA molecule. They cleave 20 to 30 base pairs after recognition site. See, we already learned that type 2 enzymes, they cleave exactly within the restricted site or target site. But type 3 enzymes, they do not cleave exactly. They cleave 20 to 30 bases away from the recognition site. Hence, they are also not used in rDNA technology. Type 1 also the same problem. Type 3 also the same problem. They do not cleave exactly at the restricted site. But we want the enzymes which cleave exactly at the restricted site because the name itself is restriction endonucleases. So they should cut the DNA at restricted site only. They should not cut as and they like everywhere, which is called as random cleavage. It should not cut randomly. It should cut exactly. Hence, type 1 and type 3 are not used in rDNA technology. And coming to the last type, that is type 4. They recognize only the modified and methylated DNA. That is, these type 4 enzymes, they do not cut or cleave normal DNA. They cleave only modified DNAs like methylated DNAs. So they are also not used in rDNA technology. So among the 4 types, type 2 are the best enzymes for usage in rDNA technology. Next, coming to role of restriction enzymes in rDNA technology. So what is the role, what is the use of these enzymes in genetic engineering, or what is the role in biotechnology, rDNA technology? So why are we studying these enzymes as the first topic in our first unit? Because these are such an important enzymes. Without these enzymes, there is no rDNA technology at all. So what is the function? Where are they used? Already we have seen this in first PPT. So this is the process for the production of human insulin. So human cell, this is a nucleus, and we'll take out DNA from the nucleus, and DNA is such a long thread-like structure. It is made up of millions of nucleotides. So from that lengthy structure, we require only a small fragment. That is, this is the small fragment of insulin gene. So from that lengthy fragment, we have to remove only the small fragment. For this, we use restriction enzymes. So we'll cut this fragment from the whole length of DNA and we'll only use this part. So in order to cut the whole length of DNA, we need restriction enzymes. Next, we have to cut the plasmid also, because if we cut the plasmid only, we can insert this insulin gene. So in order to cut the plasmid also, we need restriction enzymes. So see how much these enzymes are important in rDNA technology. So in order to cut DNA, we need restriction enzymes. In order to cut a plasmid, we need restriction enzymes. So if we cut these two only, we are able to join these two. See, this is the insulin gene which is inserted or added within the plasmid. So we'll take off some part that is unwanted from the plasmid, and in that place we will insert our required gene. Okay. So this is the first step in rDNA technology. So this first step is not possible without restriction enzymes. So that is the importance of restriction enzymes. So without this we cannot proceed to the further steps. Coming to applications of restriction endonucleases. These are used to cut DNA at restricted sites. So they do not cleave randomly. They cleave accurately and exactly. That is what we need here. Next, used to cut plasmid DNA. We already learned that. Used to cut DNA into small fragments. So if we want a number of fragments from DNA, we can use this restriction enzymes to get a number of fragments. To study nucleic acid sequences. Sequence is nothing but the mode of arrangement. So the mode of arrangement of nucleotides. Nucleic acids are nothing but DNA and RNA. So DNA sequence means what are the nucleotides that are present in DNA. So sequence means mode of arrangement. So we can study what are the nucleotides that are present one after the other. Next, they are used in rDNA technology. We already learned this. Next, used in RFLP and RAPD techniques. So, we'll deal with these well in detail in later chapters. So, first just learn their full forms. RFLP stands for restriction, fragment, length, polymorphism. Restriction, fragment, length, polymorphism. Next, RAPD stands for random, amplified, polymorphic DNA. Random, amplified, polymorphic DNA. So, these two techniques, they make use of restriction enzymes. So, we'll learn about this later. Next, they are used in DNA fingerprinting. This is the most useful technique nowadays. So, in order to find parentage of a lost baby, we will be seeing in movies and serials and all. So, DNA testing, that is nothing but DNA fingerprinting. So, here we'll identify who is the exact parent of the child. That is possible only with the help of restriction enzymes, because the first step in this technique also needs DNA cleavage, which is possible only through restriction enzymes. Next, used in blotting techniques. So these blotting techniques are studied in second unit. So southern blotting, northern blotting, western blotting, all these you will be studying there in detail. Next, used in gene cloning. So cloning transgenic sheep, BT cotton, etc. All these you will be dealt up in next units, and used to determine the size of a plasmid. To determine whether it is a small plasmid, lengthy plasmid or moderate plasmid, we can do it with the help of restriction enzymes. So we can also determine the size of a plasmid, whether it is a small one, medium one or a larger one. So these are the applications of restriction endonucleases. So these are most important enzymes. Without these enzymes, there is no rDNA technology at all. So go through all these slides. If you have any doubts, I'll clear in later classes. Thank you.